So after the pondoks slowly disappeared in the 1980s, the objectives and the focus of the association had to change.
Perbezaan adalah kesunyian.
Tapi sekarang itu berma beras ke Keraka, Keraji dah tak ada lagi. Dah habis pupus ceritanya. How are you?
I think in terms of the cooking process, it's just like because of the technology, but same ingredients are used. Last time we used grinding, but now they're just using blender.
I'm Muhammad bin Sunni. I was born in Pontok Roching in 1964. It's roughly I stay at Pontok Roching 21 years. Kehilangan yang kami rasakan waktu berpindah di SDB sangatlah terasa. Perbezaan adalah kesunyian. Bila kita di pondok, sungguh meriah sekali. Di rumah pangsa, kita ibarat terkurung. Di pondok, kerjasama antara kawan sebaya adalah amat penting. Kita solat bersama-sama, belajar bersama-sama dan sebagainya. Di Pondok Roching, kawasan ada beberapa pondok. Antara Pondok Patar, Pondok Terun yang di Darah Haus Silen. Jadi kalau ada majlis apa-apa, kita saling membantu antara pondok satu sama yang lain. Walaupun kami dah berpindah ke estet perumahan yang berbeza seperti Amokyo, Bukit Batok, Clementi, suasana dah hilang.
Yang setahu saya adalah lagu daripada Kasim Selamat, Nauba, kemudian angkot-angkot bilis. Itu yang saya tahulah, saya ingat. Ya, ini sebagai kenangan-kenangan pengubah daripada zaman 70-an sampailah sekarang. Dan biar kalau tak dimainkan rasanya tak sah sebagai majlis orang boyan. Mempromosikan bahasa boyan, mengingatkan tradisi-tradisi kebudayaan boyan sendiri. Dan ada juga anak-anak yang tak faham apa yang dinyanyikan oleh Kasim Selamat ni, lagu Lauba misalnya. Tapi ada juga yang tanya sama kita, apakah erti lagu ini? Kita alihkan bahasa dalam bahasa Melayu, baru mereka faham dan mengerti. Setahu saya kalau kita dalam majlis-majlis perisikan atau majlis-majlis pernikahan, ya, kebanyakan orang Bahuyan tidak gunakan pantun-memantun, langsung direct dengan bahasa Bahuyan. Dan bahasa Bahuyan waktu itu bukan bahasa Bahuyan pasar. Dia bahasa Bahuyan yang halusnya sampaikan ke anak-anak muda sekarang pun tak tahu, tak faham tentang bahasa itu. Right. Satu lagi, bahasa Bahuyan ni banyak. Saya banyak nak ikutkan. Pasal kita banyak di daerah Bahuyan tu bukan satu. Macam Roching lah, Kelem lah, Patar lah, kemudian Ponggol lah, kemudian Sungai Terta lah, Sangkapora. Jadi bahasanya tu masing-masing lain-lain. Jadi kita tak ada bahasa yang macam khusus. Semuanya lain-lain. Kalau kita pergi ke kampung ini, bahasanya lain. Taruh satu je, contoh saya. Pergi ke Town aja. Bahasanya, aduh, beremabakna, katanya. Tapi bila ke Sungai Terta, beremabakna. Tu cakap. Jadi, tonasi dia beza-beza. Ini satu contoh saja. Jadi itulah dia. Tak ada bahasa yang betul khusus gitu. Okey, kemudian bahasa Bahuyan, kalau sebelum tahun 80-an memang banyak orang gunakan bahasa Bahuyan. Apalagi kalau kita bertemu antara satu dengan lain, orang Bahuyan mesti cakap apa kabar, berma bekna, beras dan sebagainya, ya. Tapi sekarang itu berma beras ke Keraka, Keraji dah tak ada lagi. Dah habis pupus ceritanya, how are you? Itu selalunya. Ataupun apa kabar, selamat datang, atau assalamualaikum, biasalah itu kan. Jadi di bawah tahun 80-an masih banyak juga orang gunakan bahasa Bahuyan, tapi di atas 80-an dah kekurangan bahasa Bahuyan. Jadi kebanyakan kita bahasa Melayu biasa. Itu Bahuyan yang halus, ya, dah tak kedengaran lagi. Kerana orang tua-tua kita dah meninggal, dia bawa dengan bahasa dia sekali. Ada beberapa kebudayaan seni yang ada di Singapura waktu itu. Salah satunya adalah kerencengan, korcak, kemudian saman, dan pencak silat Bawian. Dan sampai sekarang pencak silat Bawian masih ada, tapi tidak semeriah dululah, semeriah tahun-tahun 80-an. Budaya-budaya seperti kerencangan, korcak, saman ini dah pupus daripada kita. Kalau mungkin ada pun tinggal gurunya yang ada, tapi anak murid yang tak ada. Sebab banyak yang tak minat, mereka nak menghafal syair-syairnya itulah susah sikit. Baik, tentang pencak silat Bawian saya rasa masih ada, walaupun sedikit tapi tetap ada, masih berkembang juga walaupun sedikit-sedikit. Cuma jarang-jarang diadakan di majlis-majlis perkahwinan. Tak seperti tahun-tahun 80-an, 90-an yang mana masih rancak.
There's a lot of food actually that synonymous to Bawianis. One of it is Cukok Tongkol Celok. And there's also opor. We have the dul mangsa. We have the roti boyan, they're very popular now, and many more. Actually, for the dishes, we can use it for our daily dishes, like the ikan celok, because it's very healthy dishes. If you can see, when we demo just now, the food, we only use the tamarind, and then we only use onion and turmeric. During the occasion like a wedding, I'm talking about last time, the kampung times, where we always have this rewang, and we always prepare opor nangka. Opor nangka, one, because the nangka can easily get from all the neighbors' house. Everybody just contribute like one piece of nangka, and there are many people to prepare for the food. Because this opor take a lot of time to prepare. All the ingredients we need to really sangar. We with sangar means that it's dry items we fry without the oil, and then we have to really grind it, and we have to cook it for few hours. Opor need a lot of manpower. That's why when rewang, we have the girls, the young girls, to grinding stone, is it? Yeah. So and then maybe the mothers will prepare all the ingredients, and some will cut. The men also will have to actually cut the jackfruit because it's very sticky with the rubber. You must have the skill, For Bawianis food, I think the roti boyan has evolved. Roti boyan, actually last time when my mother made roti boyan, is square in shape, not round. And the filling is actually we use eggs and mashed potato. But right now, I think the youngsters, they do it round shape, and they make it like epok-epok. They even pleat like epok-epok round shape, right? So some even make it like a half moon shape. Yeah, so it evolved from the shape and the fillings also. Okay, the cooking method, because last time the Bawianis, most of them are we are very poor. So the food usually we don't fry. We use just put onto a hot plate, like a hot pan, and we just fry it that way, no oil. But right now they're doing it with a deep fry. So it's really different. It's become slightly unhealthy compared to the previous one, yeah. I think in terms of the cooking process, it's just like because of the technology, but same ingredients are used. Last time we used grinding, but now they're just using blender. If you expect the youngsters now to use the grinding, I don't think they will even cook. So I think the technology really helps the youngsters to learn cooking. We actually conducted a session for our own members. We want them to learn and to preserve these dishes. When we see that actually the response is good, then we say, why not we extend it to the public, to other community in Singapore.
Most unique aspect about the Bawianis in Singapore is this. In Singapore, everybody knows what or who is a Bawianis. I think in Singapore, the composition of the Bawianis amongst the Malay Muslims in Singapore, the first one will be the Malays and the second will be the Javanese. I think we should be a third, in terms of the size of our community. But in Indonesia itself, in a country of, what, 230, 250 million. Bawinese Island itself only has about 70,000 to 80,000 population. There's a lot more that has migrated, that has moved to the other areas of Indonesia, but still they form a very, very small section community within Indonesia itself. The Bawinese have really assimilated to life in Singapore, and in no small part, I would humbly say that PBS played a major role in that. For example, like I said, after the World War II, there was a huge influx of Bawinese coming to Singapore. So the British government then was a bit worried whether coming with so many of them coming in without any jobs, without any money, what about housing? Where are they going to stay? How are they going to live and all that? So what the association did was then galvanize all the pondoks in Singapore and actually assured the British government then that each of the pondoks will take the people from the villages in Indonesia, from Bawean. So what happens is that, okay, for example, you come from a pondok in Pakerpong in Bawean. You just have to come, when you come to Singapore, you just have to find a pondok that is also Pakerpong pondok. And they will take you in. So they will give you free housing, they will allow you to, they will also give you free food, and they will even help and assist you to find another job, to find a job. Until you find a job, and then you can then start contributing towards the financial, the expenses of the pondok. I think PBS has done a lot helping the smooth transition of the Balinese to Singapore. A lot has changed then. First of all, there's no pontoks anymore in Singapore. Of course, the objectives have to change. During the 1940s and after the World War II, that was when a lot of influx from Bawean, the new migrants came. So at that time was actually to make sure that, first of all, these early migrants can assimilate to life in Singapore. And then in the 1960s, there was also a campaign within the association to encourage parents, because the thinking amongst the Balinese parents then were more on getting their children the religious education. So the association was actually trying to encourage the parents that, look, yes, religious education can be part of the children's upbringing, but there must also be that acknowledgement that living in Singapore, you need to get proper secular education. So the parents were encouraged to actually send their children to national schools. So after the pondoks slowly disappeared in the 1980s, the objectives and the focus of the association had to change. Right now, our main objective, firstly, is to the heritage part of the Baweanese. That means mainly culture, language, and tradition. Promote, preserve, and especially amongst the younger generation. The good part, this past 10, 15 years, there has been like a revival amongst the younger generation. They are more keen to find out more about their heritage, about their roots. So we try to encourage that. So what we do is, apart from the preservation and the promotion of the language, the culture, but we also maintain ties with the Baweanese associations in Malaysia. There's the Persatuan Bawean Malaysia. In Indonesia, there is the Persatuan Saudagar Bawean. It's the Baweanese Business Association in Indonesia. They have a number of associations there as well. So we have cultural exchanges with them. In any association, in any organization, there must be renewal. I've been here in PBS, like I said, since 1997, 1999. It's not easier to attract and retain the younger generation, but every organization needs new blood. Without that renewal process, the association will simply disappear. I'm very, very lucky. For the past 23 years, I've got very committed members, sacrificing their time, sometimes even our money, So I hope that the younger generation, yes, there is this wanting to go back to your roots, to find out a bit more why you are different from even other Malays, But there must be that sense of commitment. There must be that sense of contribution back towards the community.
nasihat saya untuk anak-anak muda sekarang, saya berharap sangatlah ya untuk kita congkil balik budaya-budaya bawian yang telah pupus ni. Ceburilah lapangan ini dalam kebudayaan bawian biar dia tak pupus sama sekali. Bahasa bawian pun jangan lupa. Walaupun kita rasa itu bahasa yang apa namanya, yang unik, yang susah kita nak sebut, tapi tetap bahasa kita.
For the youngsters, what they can do is to improvise, and because you know why, it's only the youngsters that can attract youngsters. So if they can do some other dishes that include our Bawianese dishes, I believe that it will go further, and many people will exposed to our delicacies.
My fervent wish to the younger generation is come forward.